Hello, this is Sean Copeland, Chairman and CEO of Regent Bank, and welcome to another edition of Regent Elevate, and we are continuing our discussion on the business life cycle. Now, the last couple of weeks we've talked about how to avoid premature aging within your business. You want your business to not be an infant, but to be youthful and vibrant and new and fresh. And so we've talked about how to avoid getting into premature maturing and ultimately avoiding death as an organization. So I want to just remind you that the business life cycle goes through segments just like human growth. So we start out with courtship. Courtship is basically just the idea of the business. That's when you're just kind of flirting with it. You're just kind of getting to know it, much like courtship with individuals. There hasn't yet been any commitment. It's just exploration at this point. And then we move into our first life cycle segment that we're going to talk about today of a business, which is called infancy. Infancy is when the organization is finally born. And this is a big deal. The owner has to make a huge commitment. They typically have to leave their other job. They have to, it's like jumping off. I remember when we bought Regent Bank, it literally felt like jumping off of a cliff and you just hope that the parachute opens. I mean, it is that type of feeling. So if you think about what does infancy really mean within a company, the organization now exists. It's now time for action. No more talk. We got to make it happen. There's a drive to get products to market and bring revenue. Revenue and cash is like the milk of an infant business. That's what it takes to keep it alive. You got to get dollars in the door. There's frenetic activity and chaos. Often it's 24/7, 365. I mean, people are working all the time trying to keep this baby alive. We change strategy daily, if not hourly. I mean, things are changing to whatever works. And if you have a business that is new and is an infant, the reason I mention this is because this is all totally normal. I mean, if you have an infant business, you shouldn't be sitting around working on core values and, strategic plans and all that stuff. It is all about survival. You have few systems, processes or rules, and you shouldn't have a lot of those. Everybody has the same job, and that is to figure out what needs to be done and to get it done. So there are some very normal problems for a company in infancy. Those might be, number one, frequent mistakes. You're just figuring it out. It's much like an infant trying to figure out what they can and can't eat. Certain things go in their mouth, same things with the business. Number two, you're burning through cash. You're using a lot of resources. That's very, very normal at this stage. Number three, you're a one-person show, typically. You may have more than one employee, but one person is the driver of everything, and everything revolves around that one person, much like it revolves around a baby. And number four, you typically don't have much money. So you have excessive generosity with titles, equity, and other things where you can give people benefit because, frankly, you don't have a lot of cash. So those are very normal problems with an infant new business. The abnormal problems with an infant new business are these. Number one, you rush launching to market. So you have failure. You go too fast, or perhaps you go too slow. You haven't timed going to market correctly. You're either preparing, never going forward, or you go so fast that you're not ready to handle new clients yet. Number two, you're unable to acquire critical resources. That may be cash, that may be people, that may be expertise, but you just cannot get over the hump. Number three, you have premature emphasis on process, on infrastructure, and on delegation. You got somebody that's worried about the day-to-day management of the organization when really all you need to be doing is making sales and getting in revenue. So you want to avoid these abnormal problems when you're an infant business because they will very, very quickly lead to death. So what a infant business looks like, and I'll close with this, is you have very high production. So you're focused on production. You have very low administration, low systems. You have very low entrepreneurship. You're not trying to create new. You're just trying to sell what you have, and you have very low integration. So culture is not a big deal to you. It is all about production at this point. So I appreciate you joining us so much. Next time we're going to talk about a go-go business, and what does that mean? And that's going to be the equivalent of a toddler in human words, and so I think you'll find it very interesting. We'll talk to you next week.